So the time is 7 o'clock on Wednesday, September 25th. I'd like to call the Active Transportation and Safety Advisory Committee meeting to order. We'll start with the land acknowledgement. The town of Aurora acknowledges that the Ashawaabe lands on which we live and work are the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island, as well as many other nations whose presence here continues to this day. As the closest First Nation community to Aurora, we recognize the special relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands. And as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississauga and Chippewas, recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaty of 1923. A shared understanding of how the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today. Will help us walk together into a better future. We will start with the approval of the agenda. So could I have a motion to approve the agenda as circulated by the, Tina? Second. Steve, any questions? Anybody on? No? No. All right. So are there any declaration of pecuniary interest? My glasses, I can't see anybody. Okay, so no declarations. So let's receive the minutes. May I please have a motion to receive the minutes of May 22nd, 2024? Steve and Gino. All right. Any questions on the minutes that were circulated? No. All right. Okay, so let's bring in the memorandum for traffic transportation, the automated speed enforcement pilot program. Can I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor? Sure. Okay. So, Michael, do you want to introduce the?
Yep. So this report is really related to providing council with an update on the automated speed enforcement program. The staff recommend to have the program kind of in two phases. So phase one would be to provide direction with staff to proceed with sort of seek the vendor out there for to come up with an implementation plan. So that's phase one, and then phase two will be report back to council on the detail with the information about how to proceed, including financial structure, type of camera, etc.
Does anybody have any questions regarding that? Any comments, questions? Yeah, Steve.
Michael, when you say a vendor, could you describe like what that is? Like for this, could you give me an example?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are different vendor out there that operate that provide services for the automated speed enforcement program. So there are multiple different companies and different camera types, different operating business model that we can explore and consider for the implementation of the ASC program.
So through the chair, we're supplying the cameras, or these? I thought the police were involved with this, or is this something completely different? Am I confusing things here?
It's not related to YRP. This will be a municipal lead program. So it's not related to your regional police. So the camera will be supplied by the vendor. So again, there are different model type. Some vendors supply the camera. Some you might have to purchase from them. So again, there are different variations in terms of how to approach this program.
again, through the chair, I don't know if this is the proper time to talk about this, but I see the word enforcement in the header there. Like, how is this enforced if YRP is not involved? I'm just curious about like what this is, all about.
Yep. So from my understanding, again, our bylaw officers is not here, unable to here join us today. So the tickets will be captured. So the camera will capture the rear license plate, and then we'll send back to what we have the processing center. So the purpose of the processing center is to process the ticket, to validate the tickets, retrieve the informations, the license plate information from the Ministry of Transportations, and then the ticket will be processed very similar to a parking ticket. So you get you're not going to get any point. So the ticket won't be associated with any particular driver. It will be associated with the vehicle.
So again, this is I didn't make the connection. This was potentially going through bylaw. So I mean that's where it's driven. So this is a bylaw, like Town of Aurora bylaw. It's their gig to sort of enforce this and track the drivers down. Has there been any? This is new. I mean, parking is one thing, but speed control this would be new for bylaw. I'm guessing this is a new venture for them, correct?
That's correct. It will be new for the town, but it's not new region-wide. The region has been implementing the program for the past 3 years. And my understanding is other municipalities are looking for similar program to implement within their own the local municipality. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. Anyone else?
Comments? I do have.
Off. Okay, are we on? Yes, we're on. Michael, the way I understood, so my first question is, are we going to be leveraging, York Region's already implemented this. I know the program well, just to provide some clarity, the way I understand the program. It's an independent vendor. I think it may be the similar one that Toronto awarded to. They're responsible for the machinery, maintaining it. I guess we rent them and pay back them a fee. My understanding with the tickets is, yes, the machines will, if you exceed, and again, depending how they're calibrated, will take a photo of the license plate, the speed you were traveling. All of that then is downloaded, and I don't know if it's every month, every week. I think either a bylaw officer or a police officer actually reviews and makes the determination as to whether the car gets ticketed, not the individual. So it doesn't go against your license because there's no way of them verifying who was driving. So anybody, the owner of the car. So if you give your car to your kids, be prepared to pay tickets with the system. I have concerns with the program. I know the intent, the province delegated the authority down. I'm an evidence-based person. And I know you've highlighted 4 locations. One is close to where I live on Murray Drive between Wellington and Kennedy Street West. The other areas, I can't, I'm assuming they are, as you indicated, under community safety zones. They're stretching across schools. My concern is you establish school children. I have issues with putting them in front of high schools. I had issues with the region putting them in front of high schools. They're not school children anymore. Okay, they're young adults and need to be treated that way. I also want to know what the evidence. I think before we make a decision in placing the speed cameras, it should be evidence-based. What do we have in there, from accidents to what are you using the basis to basically, what are you trying to achieve? Is it a money grab? Because it becomes, a generator. And I shared the report from Joe Petrangelo. I understand that from one point, the intent is to slow. I know people speed. I know we have the discussions about speed cushions. I understand it. I know the Murray, that section there is a hill. but I'm concerned again, thinking, okay, what's the evidence there? What have students, high school students being hit? What's the evidence there? We need to make the decision where we place these. I have no problems in front of my elementary school. The children are young. Absolutely. Okay. But I do have issues when we're looking at putting them in front of high schools. Okay. I think we have young adults there. And I think, I guess unless there's some evidence to determine to see that you need to place them there, then that should be part of the decision making. It shouldn't be arbitrarily where we have a blanket saying, okay, there's a school there and we're going to automatically reduce the speed. Because I disagree with the program. I'm going to vent that here with my colleagues, my residents, that elementary schools, that's a no-brainer. Okay, given we all have children. Well, most of us have children, and you understand, how they could just jump and run across the street. But I do have issues with placing them, in front of high school. I think I think for high schools, there got to be a higher threshold for us to be putting it there. What's the evidence to really make that determination? So I share that with my colleagues, because there will be, I don't want this to become, what's the main purpose is really to slow down in safety. And what I find when we introduce something, this becomes another cash grab. And I understand municipalities are struggling because they need the revenue. And I'm curious to see if you have any idea in terms of what the share would be, because I've shared an article and in terms of what the fines were collected, what are we paying back to the vendor? Is that then 20%? And let's just say if it's $100, are we taking 80 and giving 20 back? Are we getting 50 back? I'm curious as to what will that be used? Will the intent of then this go into general revenue, or we're actually going to use it to build speed cushions or narrow the lanes, or maybe introduce some bike lanes? Because I've argued here, the issue why we have speeding is that our roadways are too wide. You need to narrow them down to 3 meters in residential areas to narrow the road. This as a traffic person, right? You're going to slow vehicles down, right? The wider the road is, the faster the cars are going to go. And speed cushions, I like them, but again, they don't slow down SUVs. And I typically see in Aurora SUVs and trucks, so that's really my commentary as it relates to, I know as staff, you're introducing this, and I guess I'm hoping that council will look, I think it needs to, if anything, I would want it to be documented as part of our meeting minutes. It needs to be evidence-based. It can't just be arbitrarily assigned, especially in front of high schools. Okay. Elementary schools, absolutely. That to me should, we don't need evidence there. I see it. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Gino.
Gino, just for my own clarity, I'm just curious about the high schools. What's the difference? What am I missing? I get it. There's younger kids at elementary school. Why would we not do this near a high school?
I think we need. I think we sometimes have to start letting go and taking on the responsibility, something that my parents instilled with me. I tried not to, with my daughter, bubble wrap her. I think as young adults, they have to learn. I'm hoping they know that they're not going to be jutting. I see a lot of them doing this and walking across the street, and I have to honk all the time, and I get the royal finger that the light has turned red, right? But I'm sorry. You cross the road with sticking your face in the phone, you die. And I'm sorry, like at the end of the day, they have to learn. And we need to be able to say, okay, high school, they should start learning that responsibility. And that's why I'm like going, okay, where do we draw the line here? So, do we start putting in front of universities then too? What's the difference between university and high school? I'm asking, how would you, I think elementary, you're still young, but I think by the time, if we're allowing teenagers to drive, get that ability to drive, then, and that's just a personal opinion, that I have. I think you have to give the responsibility. You have to teach, I'm hoping parents are teaching them, to be responsible adults. So.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Any questions, comments? Steve?
Just the reading the text here, through the chair, to you, Michael, the region has decided, if I'm reading this correctly, that ASE is ineffective. But I just read something. I did a bit of look into this after seeing your email, Gino, where these programs are implemented and they are successful in slowing drivers down over time. It doesn't happen right away. There's, everyone gets a fine, but eventually if you monitor it, whatever that chunk of time is later, 6 months or a year, they've slowed down because no one wants to get, hit with the fine. So I'm wondering why the region's saying this is ineffective, but we're saying it's effective and we want to try it.
Sorry, push them too early. I just want to clarify one thing. I'm not too sure where did you read that we mentioned that the York region said that it's not being effective, but I think the report actually said that the program is being effective. Because under analysis, we put York region has completed a 2-year ASE pilot program, and given its effectiveness to enhance overall road safety, regional council.
My apologies. I misread that.
Anybody else? Any questions, comments?
So I'm just going to follow up on that. So yes, the region has said is it affected at slowing down vehicles. I know Major Mac well because I helped design and as part of the construction there right now near Lawford. So I know the stretch there. It's a new high school that's there. And yes, in terms of slowing down, but again, this is where we get into, yes, cars were speeding because it is a 6-lane configuration with the, massive 5-meter landscape medium. I will agree to that because, I see it. I know I work there. So I said, I know the area very well. What I'm curious as to how is that, what was that based on? Were there accidents there? What was the evidence to really want to put it there? Just because it was a high school and people were speeding? Were there a lot of infractions? Right. And compare it now post, given that, okay, things have slowed down. Okay. Have the accidents gone down? Have the incidents gone down? I'm curious. And that's the only another thing. And again, we're dealing with arterial roads. That's different from local roads. Okay. So collector roads. Okay. Within residential areas, this is why I said a lot of our collector roads, Henderson, I could almost say it's a minor arterial road, right? Because it goes basically from one arterial road. It's too wide. Our collector roads are too wide as far as I'm concerned. Right. And this is why I'm kind of pushing active transportation on it, because it's really going to settle two things that we're trying to achieve. So I think, like I said, you sometimes it's hard to compare regional arterial roads to our local roads. I think people are always going to complain because cars go through stop signs. I think that's more of an issue, within local areas than it is. I'm not going to say speeding is not important. I drive naturally slow in the areas because, again, I understand. And again, you're not, this is not a racetrack. You get on an interior road, it's a different, you're hoping that the schools would be on the interior, not on the exterior of regional arterial roads. They're internal to the subdivision. And I think a lot of our high schools are internal, except for a few of the high schools that are on. So evidence is what I really want. If you want for notes, it should be evidence-based. There should be a criteria that the town of Aurora be above York region. Let's set up a criteria. What's the evidence? As opposed to just arbitrarily saying it's a school zone and we're putting, what's the evidence? Elementary, I'm saying we need to absolutely, maybe all the elementary schools, but high schools, I would like it to be evidence-based. They're young adults. I'm hoping, the ones that are going to be racing are probably going to be the high school students because they probably all have cars and things. And those are the ones you're going to hit unless the parent, they're driving their dad. Okay. Sorry. I'm rambling. Okay. That's it.
All right. Thanks. Anybody else? Any other comment you want to make on this, or do you want it? Yeah, go ahead.
So maybe I'll just provide a little bit more clarification. So again, what I mentioned earlier, staff is planning to implement this in 2 phases. So again, phase 1 will be, first of all, we need to designate our frontage of the school as community safety zone in order for us to implement the ASC program. That's what is prescribed in the Highway Traffic Act. So that would be phase 1. And in phase 2, the staff will be reporting back to council and to the group about a detailed implementation plan. So again, we will reach out to the different vendors, look at various different model, different camera type, different business model to determine what is the best approach for the town. And again, the recommendation will be a pilot program. So it's not going to be a permanent program that we're going to implement. So it's going to be a pilot. We're going to have a few cameras. It's going to be rotating around town at various different schools. And to your point, Gino, it's going to be evidence-based. So what we're going to try to do is going to collect information first of all, to determine if the program is going to be effective or not at local and collector road, what you just mentioned about the speed difference between arterials. And second, is the program serve the purpose of reducing speed and enhancing the safety for students. So that's the whole I guess key objective of the whole pilot. But again, we're not quite there yet. So again, right now what in front of us is what I call phase 1. And again, the phase 1 will be to get direction from council so that staff can go explore various different type and report back to council with a detailed implementation plan. And I know, Gino, you mentioned about earlier if the program is going to be tied with the region. So if you are referring to the camera specifically, they will not be. The region has their own program. But again, we need once the ticket is captured, it needs to go through a processing center. And my understanding is York Region is coming out with their own processing center. Toronto has their own, but it's over capacity now. So the region is coming up their own. Newmarket recently implemented their own processing center. So there are various different options for the town to join in terms of which processing center that we want to join with. But again, all this information will be provided in the implementation plan during phase 2.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a follow-up. So what are the fees? Are we dictating the fees? So does the province dictate what the fine is based on how much you're over the speed limit? Like, are we going to be nailing people if it's 50 kilometers and they're like going 51 or 52 over? Who's setting that? Because I think I'm just curious as to how the program, is it a set fine for how many kilometers over the speed limit? Is there, a grace? Not that we should share, but, you're looking at your speedometer. I think people get ticked if you're starting to see they went 52 in a 50 zone. So I'm just curious, do we set that? Does town of Aurora set that?
Go ahead, Mike.
So the town doesn't set the fine. The fine is outlined in the Highway Traffic Act. So it's based on how much speed you went over the speed limit. So technically speaking, even though if you're over 1, I can't remember, I think it was $5. And then as you go up to if you're over 10, it's going to be progressively more. It's like $7.50 and then 10, etc. In terms of the trigger speed, that's not something that I can disclose in here. But there will be some sort of trigger speed, but that's not the information that I have right now.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
Through the chair, Michael, thank you for that. Just while we're on the topic of money, not that the money matters, but I mean, these things can generate a substantial amount of revenue. When you were looking at other jurisdictions, and I know it's, everyone's a little bit different, size, et cetera. Was there any sense of like what volume of money we're looking at here? Was it tens of thousands a year, hundreds of thousands, millions? I'm just trying to get in my head, like what would be the revenue coming in for this?
I think at this stage, it would be difficult for us to estimate the actual revenue that will be coming in. So far, from what I know, most of the program are implemented in larger city, Toronto, Mississauga, Brampton region. For smaller municipality, I think most of them are still either within the browsing phase or they just implement it so they don't have too much information to share with us. So again, the whole purpose of the pilot is including how much are we bringing in, and is it a sustainable program for the town? Like not in a sense that we're aiming to generate any revenue, but is it sustainable?
Okay, thanks. Well, you comment?
Yeah, I don't know who to direct this to, but we were talking about this in the spring about this whole thing with the bike share program. And that in itself would maybe pose some security issues. So if I don't know much about these speed cameras, but if it's possible to have it kind of strategically placed in a way that we could, if we needed to, use it as a security or safety feature for in terms of like bike theft or damage. I don't know if we can hit two birds with one stone. No? Okay. All right. I see.
Yeah, sorry, just in the notes, no, that it's a different trigger that sets it off. It's not a security camera, unfortunately. So, I was going to move on. Did you have something else you want? Okay, go ahead.
So I'm going to, because I shared with it. So everybody, just for the record, Wellington Street West eastbound. Okay. Just here in Aurora from September to December 2023, there were 16,305 tickets issued for $1.24 million. Okay. So again, as the incidents go down, right? So if you were wondering about how much would it generate. So something on 9th line, they had from March, again, a 3-month period, 1,391. So 1,400, and they generated at 158,000. So there, just to give you a ball. But again, if the fines are based on how much you're over, so you don't know. I mean, we'll have to find out if whatever.
Two accidents on St. John's near that new school. 3 if you include closer to Bathurst. So yeah, Bathurst as well, definitely.
Sorry, that's a regional road though, right? So that would be done by the region. Yes.
So one more thing. I'm going to say if we do implement it, that we use this money to fund active transportation. Okay, so that's the mandate of this. And I'm going to say any fees we collect, because I'll be honest, and I raised this before, what we identified to be built, there's not enough money to build it. Okay. And we put everything in DCs, and I'm sorry, Aurora's done. There's nothing else to build. No, there's nothing to build to where you're going to generate if you can't, unless we start building 60-floor condo towers on Yonge Street. Like, I'm sorry, you just look everything. There's no more land. So either, that's it.
Okay. I don't mean to cut you off. Let's move on to the next. So we need to do a vote to carry this. So all in favor? All opposed? So it carries. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So the memorandum for the yield signs. So can I have a mover to put that on the floor? Steve and then Lil. Okay, so the memorandum yield signs feasibility assessment being received. So do you want to speak about that?
So this memo is to provide the committee with the information about yield sign feasibility assessment. So based on the information that we presented in the memo, we certainly don't recommend to proceed with converting stop sign with yield signs within the town for safety and compliances reason. And I'll open to the floor for discussions.
Go ahead, Jim.
And I can't recall our discussion, but have we identified any potential roundabout locations in existing areas in Aurora that we could implement? I'm thinking particularly Henderson Highway to kind of look, because I think that's a speed zone, right? I know it is. I don't know if again, the problem with putting in place roundabouts is having enough land for appropriate, really to establish, to get trucks, fire trucks through. It's always limited. It's better done in new subdivision because you allocate the appropriate property. So I'm not sure if Aurora, because my question is, have we identified or looked at? Because that would be the place where you would replace stop signs and put a roundabout with yields. That's my question.
So to convert existing intersection with roundabout, this wasn't part of the assessment, so we didn't look into it. But in terms of new applications, when the opportunity presents itself, certainly that's something that we'll look at. But so far we haven't have subdivisions development that has the opportunity for roundabout implementations.
Anybody else?
Sorry, just as a follow-up. So, but we have been implementing roundabouts in new subdivisions, if I'm not mistaken, like I've seen them, right, in Aurora. Okay. All right. Oh, that's it. I don't have anything else.
Go ahead, Steve.
So on that point, I mean, in some of the newer subdivisions, mostly on the east side of town, we do have roundabouts. I'm just curious as to, through the chair to you, Michael, who makes the decision on those? Like when new roads are built like that, who makes the decision about, the roundabout at intersection sort of X or Y?
So the decision would be collective based on staff assessments from various different departments and coordination with the applicants to see where the roundabout can be implemented and to kind of evaluate the benefit of a roundabout compared to traditional intersections.
Anybody have any other questions, comments on that? No.
So my only recommendation as it relates to this item is that the town of Aurora investigate the opportunities to implement roundabouts in other existing areas in terms of, based on your knowledge, making a determination if it's feasible anywhere as part of traffic calming process too. That's it.
I'm just gonna make one comment. That would go back to your original comment of using from the last item, using the funding from the camera stuff to implement some of these. So you would have some capital to put into some of these infrastructure programs for active transportation. Go ahead, Steve.
So this is through the chair to you, Michael, on the after the effect or after the fact for the implementation of a roundabout at a given intersection, however that comes about. Again, is that something? I'm just curious how would we identify which intersections or roads, T intersections would be proper? And then again, I guess it's physical space, Gino, but you know more about this than I do. Again, it's just the physical space. Like, can it actually physically be done? And for minimal cost? But I've seen some of these elsewhere. I mean, they literally just have like a circle, like in the middle of the four-way, and you kind of have to go around a little bit. It's not a big, monstrous roundabout. So again, I'm just curious about after the fact how that would happen. To Michael or to the rest of the group. Gino in particular, who knows more about this than I do.
So sometimes when we go to implement, we do a roll curb. So trucks who, when you're limited in space, have the ability to actually mount the roundabout slightly to kind of go around. You don't typically want to do that, and I know fire typically doesn't like to do that. But again, when you're looking at availability, you're always looking, okay, what green space I have, in there, because you're not going to go and take property. Sorry, you're not going to go and take property from residential properties. Like you're not going to, because you're going to have to expropriate. And I don't even know if that's an appropriate thing that we can expropriate for. So they're hard to implement. And that's why you kind of look for right of ways that are wide, is there a possibility of you doing it? But then looking at the adjacent triangular pieces that you typically need, saying, okay, is it in a green space? Because you could take more in a green space, to allow for it. So that's why preliminary, I've said, I don't think there are enough areas when I look around the existing old areas, because they weren't really designed with roundabouts, which is too bad, because I know they work. They actually they do work. They're popular in Europe. I know people have struggled here, but they actually work for as a traffic calming. You put those in, you have to physically stop. You cannot take that turn. You can take the turn and the car, will be flipping. They do work. But again, they're easier to implement in a new development. And again, I concur. It's staff that looks at it. And typically you implement them on collector roads, because you're going to typically in a block development, you're going to have 2 or 3 collector roads that meander through, and those are the ones that you typically try to put the roundabouts in. I don't know.
Sorry, I cut you off. Sorry. I cut you off. Sorry. One additional on that, just that you have to have room for snow too. Remember that. So you have to have that. That's no windfall. Any other comments on this? No? Anybody else? No? Okay, so let's move on. So we need to vote on this as well. So all in favor? Okay, so that carries. So the next item, we have memorandum for deputy clerk, a citizen recruitment and advisory committees. So we're gonna move that to the floor for discussion. All in favor? Yeah. First, second, that's what I need. Okay, thank you. So the memorandum regarding the citizen member recruitment advisory committee. I'm gonna mispronounce this name. Is it, how do I pronounce it?
That's Ishita, Mr. Chair.
Do you want to go ahead and speak to this item? Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Through you, Mr. Chair. So the purpose of this memorandum is just to inform the committee, and also in addition to the email that went out to all the members, to inform them that as council direction at the beginning of the term, like citizen members are appointed for a 2-year term only. So that being said, current memberships for all citizen members and all the advisory committees listed on the memorandum is expiring by the end of this year. So hence we have opened the recruitment process again for the next 2 years. The application is live on our boards and committees page as listed in the memorandum, and members are encouraged to reapply for the same committee if they wish to, and current members have to reapply if they wish to continue on a committee or be considered for this committee or any other committees. So you're more than welcome to apply, and all the applications are now available on the website. And the application period is going to be until November the 1st, 4:30 p.m. on November the 1st. And that's when it closes. And I'm happy to take any questions that any members might have.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay.
So is it, I can't remember if we uploaded a resume or we had to do, is it okay if we just put our name forward, because you have our existing information from this application, our original application?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's a completely brand new round of applications, again, for the first time around. So the application has to be resubmitted because council will be basically redoing the whole process that they did at the beginning of the term. So they will be looking at all the applications that have come through. So just the name forward is not sufficient. The application form that's available on the website will be required. That's part of the process.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I think
Yeah, sorry. Just because I know that there are people who are not here, is it possible to get it emailed out to people or mailed out to people who are already on the committee, maybe who want to reapply possibly?
So through you, Mr. Chair, we did send an email out to all the members informing them. So all current members were informed to advise them. And as mentioned in the memorandum, we have advertisements on social media, in the newspaper, periodically throughout and concurrently throughout the whole application period, informing any other members as well who are interested in applying. So and to answer your question, the reason why it is redoing the whole process again, because the term ends. So it's reconsidering all the applications again. So the process will remain the same as it was at the beginning of the term.
any further comments by anybody on that? You know?
So I'm only going to say I make the recommendation to staff that if we're reapplying and that you keep our credentials so we're not having to redo it again. I mean, we're just basically repeating it. So I know you're telling me, my understanding is that our application from our previous process has been destroyed and you no longer have it. Is that correct?
Well, through you, Mr. Chair,
Sorry, I hit you. I cut you off by mistake. Go ahead.
Well, through you, Mr. Chair, like I said, that report was already considered by council. So this is a brand new report that will go to council with all the applications and information. So that application process at that point in time is no longer carried forward. I understand what you're trying to say, but that applications and the application submitted at that time was part of the report at that point in time. But this time around, it's a brand new report to council with all the names. So we would have to provide this time around all the details of the application. And as with experience, members are encouraged to put in the experience of, if you're reapplying, members have and can put experience that they have accounted for it from the 2 years that they have served on any committee. So hence we have to do a fresh application.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think from my comments on that, I mean, it's just do the work if you want to be on it. In terms of that, and if they have to go and dig up your old application and do it, it's duplication of work and it's going to cost the town more money. So I'd rather you do it than they do it. But that's my 2 cents. All right, we need to call a vote. Sorry. All in favor? All right, that cares. Okay.
Being lazy.
I know you are, so I'm calling you out on it. Sorry, is there any new business? Does anybody have any new business they want to carry forward? Nope. Nope.
What's our next week? Sorry. Do we have one more scheduled meeting prior to Christmas? Good. Thank you. I wanted to make sure it wasn't like last year in December, the week that we're all going to grab our kids from Sky University. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Steve.
So on the subject of the active transportation master plan, that's probably the most significant thing that this group of wonderful people has done. What, again, just because I'm relatively new to this, what do we need to do to, I don't know, just stay on top of council? I'm just asking this generally. Anyone in the room can answer. Just to stay on top of council to see where this thing is at. Because there's been a tremendous amount of work done in it. It has some great things in it. Yes, it's going to cost, money to get a lot of the principal things, implemented. But the one thing I'm thinking about most importantly, and it actually wasn't even really in the active transportation plan, was that stretch along Wellington from, from just down here to the GO train station. And to your point, Gino, that if we don't have a trail of some kind along there, when Metrolinx gets around to doing that underpass, we're not going to get anything. So yeah, that's all we're going to get. So, and that's unfortunate because that's a key and a crucial link. We have to have some kind of active transportation for people to safely get from the east to the GO train station. I'm just going to be a pit bull about this.
Did you want to make a comment on that before we go to Gino? Because I know he does, but do you want to go first? Yeah.
So as part of the recommendation in the active transportation master plan, an annual staff report will be presented to council to provide council with updates in terms of what has been implemented in that year and what future project is coming up. So so again, there will be an annual report that go to council with the information about the status and how much we have done so far.
So, and I know, thank you, Michael, for reminding me of that, because I know that was in like Dave's presentation. That was part of it. I do remember that. So when's the time clock on that start? Like, was it when like council voted yes to it? They accepted it. Is that when the clock starts on the year for that?
I would suggest it will be based on calendar year. So we will have one either end of this year or early next year to report to council what we have done so far in 2024. And then in the subsequent year will be either end of the year or the beginning of the year that the report will be presented to council.
Gino?
Through the chair. So under the capital budget of this year, if you remind me, we have Yonge Street. So basically from Bloomington to the rail corridor, I think scheduled to start detailed design. There was also another project that you move forward with. So typically, Steve, the way it works is the master plan is a guiding document. Staff should be, and maybe this is where we're going to have to step in at budget time, be able to present so you have to put a capital project forward. Still, that gets presented as part of the capital budget. So I don't know what you have, but I'll be looking to see what you're going to be moving forward, presenting as staff based on the master plan. Okay, what are you proposing for 2026 to start? Okay, so projects typically take 2 to 3 years to design before they get implemented. 2026 capital budget is now started. I know I just completed ours. It should be under deliberation. I don't know if you present, whether it's already, you guys have finalized it and it's already under deliberation as to what can be included yet, because again, staff prepares a document based on guiding principles of what the percentage should be. I think last year you did multi-year budgeting, so you should already have an idea of what actually may not have included our AT information because the master plan got already approved. It got approved later. So we're hoping you amend it to include some of the items that we've identified. I think for the next meeting in November, I'd like to see the items moving forward for next year in 26 capital budget, what you guys have identified. Okay, Steve, to see implementation. Is that possible? Or do you have any updates? Have you done the work already or you've done no? I'm curious. I'm putting Mike on.
Go ahead, Mike. I'll respond to that.
It's okay. So I just want to clarify, are you referring to what we have planned for capital project for 2025 for next year? Or are you referring to like a long-term plan? Based on my understanding, the capital project, the capital budget planning for next year hasn't been completed yet. Again, I'm not directly involved with the financial planning aspect. But what I can say is that the project that we planned for next year accounted for some sort of active transportation. So again, based on the recommendation in the ATMP under the short term, and the quick win is that whenever we have a road resurfacing or road reconstruction, we try to implement the AT infrastructure along with it. We'll plan with it. And that's what we've been doing. So if there's any roadway that is undergoing resurfacing or any types of work, we will try to design in such a way to accommodate the recommendation from the ATMP.
Any other questions, comments?
Need the list.
Nothing on this. I have something else I wanted to ask Michael or put to the floor on. If we're done with this. This is just something I've noticed on some of the social media chatter, and this is a Metrolinx question, but I'm just through you, Mr. Chair, to Michael, if he knows anything about it, is the new overflow parking lot is at the end of Scanlon Court, the dead end of Scanlon Court. The chatter's been that it's a long way, from, the GO train station, which I guess it is. And I'm just wondering, it's not that far. It's a 10-minute walk. It's advertised as 15, but I've actually walked it. It's 10. So, I'm just curious if there's what you know about this, Michael, like what like the usage of that parking lot and how much use it's getting. And then the second thing is there is a shorter way, but again, I don't know anything about land ownership, the back way along the tracks, and I don't know how much safety setback they need from the tracks to develop a walkway through there. But I'm having stood there and stood at the end of that parking lot, you can literally see like the station 200 meters away, but you have to walk all the way around and go through that 10-minute walk. So I'm just kind of throwing that out there as a point of ignorance and wondering if this has been talked about and are there better and other solutions?
So I don't have any concrete information to share with the group at this point about the usage. But Metrolink did reach out to the town about coming up with I guess more ideal pedestrian routes from the overflow parking lot to the GO station. One of the options that they did look at was through the back, but there might be a significant grade difference, and it might be challenging to make the pathway to be AODA compliance. So beside that, I don't have too much other information to share about the parking lot.
Thank you. I'm actually on the Metrolinx committee, the town, all the items that you have been addressed with Metrolinx and addressed with the town. The items that you brought up. What I would say is if you have questions, Ron Weiss is chairing it. You can reach out to him. We do send out all of the correspondence. So there are all the correspondence with Metrolinx, everything gets published back out. There is some easement issues in terms of cutting the path through, which is the one thing that you were talking about, and it is already noticed that parking lot isn't being used to its potential, but that is where it sits right now. But and so I would say if you do want to get involved in it, Ron is your point of contact. Yes, Phil?
You have one point about the driveway to the GO station that meets up with industrial. I've seen near accidents there where people are trying to turn left because you know how there's that curve and then people are like looking both ways, and then sometimes you see pedestrians or cyclists trying to go at the same time that people are looking both ways, and there's a curve. So yeah, I have seen some near accidents there, and I don't know what the solution is because I think there's already a light, right? Because of the buses. So it would be really close, but I don't know. I was just wondering about if there's anything that can be done more in a preventative way at that one where that driveway is, because
I would say we can just add that as a new item to look at that area, and then we can table that moving forward, because there is a big congestion area there for sure.
sorry, one more thing. There are a lot of people who don't know about I forget the name of that trail, but it goes by Yonge and it goes up that marshy area just on the north side of St. John. But there have been people who've broken limbs there specifically because of dogs that are off the leash. I know there's supposed to be a sign somewhere, but the dog owners actually yell at the people who ended up falling off their bikes and having broken bones and casts. So I only know this because I know people who work in the hospital and they're dealing with the cast situation. So, but the dog owners feel the right to let their dogs off the leash, but then the people who are cycling or commuting on that bike route are actually getting injured. So that's just my concern. Maybe we need more signs, maybe they're not being maintained. I don't know why dog owners feel that they have that license. Yeah.
Are you talking Mackenzie Marsh, like on St. John's where the marsh is and then the trails that go? Yeah, Mackenzie Marsh. Okay, on the north side. That would be so I would say what we should do is recommend that people contact bylaw because that would be a bylaw issue in that area for that. And then from there they can designate whether they need more signage or whether they need some enforcement in that. Does anybody have anything else new before we adjourn? No? Okay, so that being said, then can we have a motion to adjourn? All right, all in favor? Yeah. Okay, so that carries. Thanks.